Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Merger Network. So much is happening here at Journey of Hope, and we want to make sure that you have all the information that you could possibly want, need, or ignore. Well, here is episode 7 of the Merger Network. Yeah. So, breaking news. We are a week away from three-phase electric. No? Well, the second phase of the moon. Not quite. Well, I know. We are a week away from phasing out all social gatherings. Definitely not. We are actually a week away from phase 4 regarding the Illinois plan for the coronavirus. This is the time when many things around us begin to look and feel a little like they used to. Different stores are opening, restaurants are accepting more seating, and even movie theaters are about to open. Yeah. But what does phase 4 mean for the church? Well, as I said last week, we will not be back into in-person worship until we are certain for the safety of all of you. So with that being said, we want to know how you are all feeling about this. So we have released a survey that we want everyone to take. This survey will be emailed and mailed to all of our members, but will also be shared on our Facebook page on a link found actually even in this video. You can find it in the link just below, like right here. Yes. Oh, no. Yeah, I think it's right down there. Well, we hope that you can take this survey right away so that we can gauge how you're feeling and what steps we need to take in order to feel safe during our worship services. There are so many factors that go into our decisions, like how do we keep distances? What are steps to clean? How are people seated? Do we sing hymns? Does the choir perform? Do we have communion? And if so, how? Do we have bulletins, hymnals, or Bibles available? Do we serve coffee? Good questions. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of questions which need answers. Trust me when I tell you that there is a health team of nurses, law enforcement, child care workers, and social workers working to determine a plan for returning to in-person worship. We do not take this lightly and will not judge anyone if they choose to continue to stay away. Please know that regardless of returning to in-person worship, we will maintain our online presence and live-streamed worship services. In case you want to put a tentative date on your calendar, the health team has determined that a possibility of returning to in-person worship would take place on July 19th. Now you may think that that is a long way away, but with all the changes and preparations needed, 5 weeks is really not that long at all. Whew. Well, now that we have that heavy topic out of the way, let's turn to something a little lighter, shall we? Moving. Yeah, so actually not that lighter of a topic, as moving usually requires heavy lifting, but we are looking for volunteers to help with moving some items from our Wesley campus, the Wesley campus building, to the new Journey of Hope building. And if you're interested in helping, you can contact Evelyn Chapman or Carol Burris or myself to see what the schedule is. Now don't worry. The grand piano is not one of the items that we will be moving personally. We actually hired Acme Moving for that job. Well, another topic that we should talk about is how we are going to get to know each other. I mean, it has been over 3 months since we've gathered for worship, and many of us do not look the same as we did going into the stay-at-home order. Hair maybe has grown out, maybe the color has changed. We've all aged just a little bit, and there is that little concern of something that happens after binge watching all of Netflix over the past 3 months. Some of you are familiar with the phenomenon called the freshman 15, referring to weight added during the first year of college that affects many students. Well, now we have to have the Coronis 10. You know, being in our homes, eating all the food in sight has an adverse effect on many. And although I have heard from a few that have said that since they don't eat out as much, they've actually lost some weight. Good job. Anyway, because I think I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum. Any way you think about this, we will return to an inflated membership. And I'm actually referring to the number of members since the merger. We need to get to know each other, and I think there's a wonderfully United Methodist way about doing this. John Wesley always talks about small groups. He's called them bands. This was a group of people who would gather weekly to discuss life. They would ask that important Wesleyan question, how is it with your soul? I think we need to bring many of these small groups or bands back, and maybe we need to give them an entirely new name, like hiking groups or pathminders or tour guides. Anyway, small groups could be a wonderful way of getting to know your fellow members, regardless if you have been sitting next to them in worship for 50 years or just started a couple of months ago. Would you consider starting a small group or joining one? Right now, we've got at least 2 groups that are going strong. There's a Monday walking Bible study, which meets here at the parsonage at 6:30 in the morning for a walk on Mondays. And they do study conversations. And then there's the Panera Bread study group, which gathers at Panera in South Elgin at 6 a.m. for a study based on the scripture passages for the upcoming Sunday. You're welcome at either of these groups, or better yet, you can start one and invite others to join you, especially those who don't like early mornings. Okay, well, that's a lot of information. And now it's time for our staff spotlight. The staff spotlight of the week goes to our Director of Worship Arts, Chris Cherry. You're all familiar with the questions, and so here we go. Chris's favorite color? Blue. Interesting. I think Jan's favorite color was blue too. Has to be some kind of connection between a choir director and the the gal who plays the piano. His favorite movie? Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it would come to a movie that has to do with shrimp? Shrimp kebab, shrimp creole, gumbo, pan-fried, deep-fried, stir-fried, pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. Well, that's about it, I think, because Chris's favorite movie is Forrest Gump. Well, when all of this coronavirus began, we weren't really sure what to expect, so in a way, I guess you could really say that life is like a box of chocolates, because you don't really know what you'll get. Well, since he is one of our music staff, I asked who his favorite composer was, and I loved his answer because I feel the same way. It's hard to say which composer, so he gave me names from many different genres of music, and so here they are. Classical? Bach. Musical theater? Benji Pasek and Justin Paul from shows like La La Land and The Greatest Showman. Stay tuned on that one because we'll be having a series on movies in just a few weeks, and one of those will be featured. Well, for rock and pop of all time, the Beatles. Recently, Ben Folds and Sarah Bareilles. Country, Zac Brown Band. R&B, Stevie Wonder or John Legend. And choral music, John Rutter. And if you sing with a choir, you either know or you will know about his passion for John Rutter and his music. Well, Chris is an avid reader and recently got into running. Not quite sure if you could combine those two things, but maybe he should try. Well, many of you also know Chris's family, and some of you know them and Chris really well, like watching him grow up, or maybe even teaching him in Sunday school well. Well, he grew up here, and we're so glad that he continues to worship and bring his musical talents home. 5 years ago, Chris married the love of his life, Karen, and they live in Hampshire. Allison is his sister, and Brian is his brother. Bev and Greg are his parents and longtime members of this church. Well, Chris is excited about the possibilities with the merger of a larger choir and handbells and many other musical ensembles to share in worship. We're also pleased with the many pieces of special music that Chris has shared with us while we have live streamed worship. And so, if you're looking for something that you might not have known about Chris, I spoke with Allison about him. Now, we got to keep this quiet. The stories she told me, I really can't mention. I mean, there's this little thing of clergy privacy that I need to keep, so sorry. But when I asked Chris, he told me that back in 2014, he was able to sing backup for Ben Folds. Pretty awesome. I bet that had to be a special time in his life. It's not often that you are asked to sing with someone like that. Well, welcome to the team, Chris. We can't wait to get back to worship and all of the music that you will help lead. Well, that's all I got for now. I hope that you'll continue to tune into the Merger Network as we share more about staff and other ministry opportunities that we're planning. I hope that you're going to continue on this journey of hope through all of this. God is so good. And so once again, I'll remind you, be sure to like this video and comment down below. Let us know how we're doing. Also, to be sure to subscribe by pressing that little button down below that's probably really close to that link for the survey that you need to take. But if you click subscribe, you'll make sure that you get all the updated Merger Network videos as soon as they are released. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Merger Network. We will see you again next week.